Hi, and welcome to the Virtual Studio Shortcast, where we get a glimpse into the artist minds in up to 10 minutes. My name is Gordana, and this is Boshko. And you could
Yeah.
start by telling us your name and a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So my name is Raymond Watson, and I'm based in Ireland, in a small town called Cushendall, which is on the northeast coast. I work as a multimedia artist, and I make art out of whatever I need to make art from at that moment. So I've made audio visual stuff. I've made soundscapes, and I paint and I sculpt and I do a lot of community art. So I have kind of worked internationally and also worked a lot here in Ireland. Um, so probably I'm somebody who sees the process of making art as being equally important with the finished art product. So people normally see the stuff in the gallery, um, but the actual process of making art is quite often just as important. So to kind of satisfy that view that I have, I've written a number of books about my artwork that tell the story of how I make art from the blank canvas format, from the blank canvas stage, right through to the finished art piece. I talk about the process of making the stuff and and where I got my inspiration from and how ideas would evolve and develop right through until the finished completed piece and the exhibition in the gallery or whatever space it's in. So one of my latest books is called this book here. It's called What Sort of Artist Are You? Can you see that on screen okay? Yep.
Yes.
My screen is a wee bit blanked out, so I can't actually see what's on there. And in this book, I go through one of the main pieces of artwork that I've done. Whenever I die, what they'll remember me for is probably a few things, but one of the main things they'll remember about me is the fact that I've been working for this last 25 years on a project that's about the Good Friday Agreement, the peace process in Northern Ireland. And as part of that, the major part of that, I've been casting the hands up of all those people who negotiated and implemented the Good Friday Agreement. So I meet with these VIPs and make molds of their hands and then cast them in bronze and mount them on a sculpture called the Hands of History. So the Hands of History was first started by me in about 1990, and I just cast the last hand that I cast in January, February of 2025. And I've one more hand to do, and that's our local First Minister here, Michelle O'Neill from Sinn Féin. And when I cast her hand, I'm probably going to say the sculpture is finished, happily. And so this Hands of History sculpture has been exhibited quite a bit, mainly for anniversaries of the Good Friday Agreement and for other like conferences about peace and talks about peace. But besides the Hand of History, I've done so that was a gallery community project, a gallery based community project. An example of one of my large scale community projects that didn't go to the gallery is another project called the Belfast Flags of Hope. And for the Belfast Flags of Hope, that has went on for years as well. But the sort of climax of the Belfast Flags of Hope was the act of making 10,000 individual art flags, which were composed and painted and drawn and embroidered in any way they wanted to do it. I got approximately just under 10,000 members of the community in Belfast, and they all made their own individual flags about hope for the future. And so it's a flag representing the people as human beings and not as Irish people or British people or as any other identification. And then, so it was an inclusive, I call it a flag flying event, but really they were making small artworks about humanity and common humanity and shared humanity. And then to exhibit that, they were strung together on a single line and exhibited along the Peace Wall in Belfast. I had 2 miles. The 10,000 flags extended over 2 miles in length. So it was like a very inclusive event between both sides of the communities in the north, and it yeah, and the idea is that once, especially young people, make some sort of a flag that represents them as human beings, that they may then become more aware of divisive flag flying and how flags can cause complications within society and violence and well, etc. I don't think I need to explain that any further. So besides those types of projects that were directly related to the situation in the north of Ireland, I've also been to Israel and Palestine, the Western Sahara, and the Basque region. I was in Ukraine and some other places around Europe and India, and other places that had many other types of conflicts going on. And I've done projects in these places that are geared towards encouraging peace and trying to get away from conflict and the reasons for conflict, and move towards a more peaceful and better and hopeful society. So they're like conflict resolution style projects, but conflict comes in many forms. So one of my latest exhibitions it was called Apis mellifera, the honeybee, and chicken just went out. So the honey, making art about something like the honeybees in today's world is to like raise all kinds of questions about the environment and what we do as human beings and how we impact on the survival of bees, which opens up the door then for a greater discussion on environmental issues. So not all conflict is to do with bombs and bullets, and there are many other conflicts in society that we face. So that my last exhibition with the honeybee, it was a multimedia exhibition with sculptures, paintings, and soundscapes. How are we doing for time? Keep
Yeah,
going, right?
we have you.
Okay. I'll finish on this one. So the sculptures were was able to cast for the first time ever. When I say the first time ever, first time anyone has ever been able to cast from inside a living beehive. I was able to make molds of the frames in the inside of the beehive, where you could see things like developing pupa, developing larvae, and queen cells, unhatched queen cells and hatched queen cells, and you can see the brood pattern, etc. from inside the beehive. For the soundscape, it's basically when I talk about a soundscape, it's a way of instead of painting something, instead of painting an idea, you record sounds of that are related. So I recorded many sounds of the bees, and then you can edit them together in a way that is like a portrait, but a portrait made with sound instead of paint. So the soundscape about the bees tells the story of a bee season, what would go on inside a hive and outside the hive, and I've boiled it down to 5 minutes, where you get an entire bee season presented. So there's many unique sounds and features about that, and the paintings are basically representations of bee life, and other aspects. Well, they're portraits of the bee, of what the soundscape might be. There are other aspects of bee life. Yeah, and that's what it is. It's a series of paintings about bees and what they do and how they live. and how the beekeeper interacts with the beehive. So I've tried to keep that all as brief as possible, but that's a snapshot of 10 minutes of what I do. I could go on for quite a while talking about
Yes,
different projects,
we
but
should
yeah.
repeat this as a final question, where people can see more of your work and connect with what you're doing next.
Yeah, I have a website. It's www.thehandsofhistory.com. So there's quite a good. I don't keep it very well updated, but there's a good record of what I do in there. And you could also, if you really wanted, people could also go for my book, which is
Yes.
called "What Sort of Artist Are You?" When I go and I speak with people, especially around here in this village, they say, "What do you do?" And I tell them an artist, and they go, "Oh, and what sort of artist are you?" And I then have to try and explain, in 2 minutes to give people an idea of what I do. And there's an earlier book there's several books, about 5 books out, but these two are the main ones about my artwork. And this one here is called "The Cell Was My Canvas," and it's like a previous. This one's the last 10 years. What sort of artist are you? And this one, "The Cell Was My Canvas," is before this last 15 years, so it starts 25 years ago, but it ends 10 years ago. So it's kind
Where
of,
we can find the book online or directly through your website.
well, both of them you can get directly through my website. And, if you wanted to go straight to Amazon, you'll get that one on Amazon. But this one can only be got through my website. And then of other publications out. Another probably fairly important one is called "Ireland versus Israel," and it's about a project that I did with Israeli artists that took me to Israel, and they were here, and it tells the story of who they are, what they did, and how they think, what they think about. So they're the three main art books. Yep.
Amazing. Thank you again for joining us today, and I hope we do this again. We can talk about specific project next time that
Hmm.
you have been working on lately, and then
Yeah.
see you soon.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure doing it, and keep me updated with all the progress.
Yes,
We'll
thank you so
talk. We'll
much.
talk soon.